Morning, everyone. This is Jerry from Advanced Spatial Technologies. Everyone for attending today's webinar session. And today I'll be covering the best practices with measurements. So it would be good if all of you could just mute yourself for the session. At any time you have any questions, please leave the question at the end of the session. You could give us a call or email us your questions if you have any, but let's just leave this session for me today. All right, so I'll be starting now, and I hope that you guys can see my screen clearly. If you have any problem, you could just put out in the chat and let me know if you can't hear me clearly or if you can't see my screen properly. Okay, so let's get into it right now. So what I'm going to show you today is how to use the measurement tools in Bluebeam Review. So all the tools that I'm showing you today is available in all 3 different versions. So not to worry if you are on the standard or the CAD or the extreme, you will get to use all the tools. Okay, so firstly, I would like to start off with the snapping tools. The snapping tools are very crucial when it comes to doing very accurate measurements. So in Bluebeam Review, when you are doing measurements, you would like to make sure that you are snapping to the right point on your drawing. Okay, so as you can see in my PDF right now, I have got a few drawings already set up. So I will just go into this page here. Okay, so as you can see at this bottom panel here, we call this the status bar. Some of you have seen this before, some of you may not. There are times when this bar may disappear and you may like to turn it on just to make sure that your snapping tools is working correctly. So the version I'm on right now is an extreme version, which means that it has all the features in it, including the form creation, redaction, OCR recognition. Yeah, but for today, all the measurement features are included in all different versions. Okay, so as I was saying about the toolbar, which is the status bar at the bottom here, you can see that sometimes it may not even appear on your screen, and that is because it is being turned off. So what you need to do is to turn it back on, just go to Tools, Toolbars, and make sure that status bar is turned on like that. Okay, so here it is, and then this is how you turn it on. Okay, so now let's get into the snapping tools. So you can see that in the first one is called to show my grid. If I turn it on, you can see that I have grid lines here. So these grid lines, it depends on whether you need to use it or not. You can adjust the spacing between the grid lines. You can use these grid lines to actually do very basic drafting as well. So it is pretty useful. But if you do not need it, you are just doing markups or measurements in a current PDF drawing, you can turn it off. And this over here, the second one is called to snap to grid. So this first tool is just to show it, but the second one, if you turn it on, it will snap to grid, which means that for every markup or measurement that you put in, it will snap to the grid. Okay, so now I'm going to show you just very quickly what happened when this show to grid is turned on. Okay, snap to grid. Okay, so let's say I am creating and I want to find an area, and when my snap to grid is actually turned on, okay, you would see that when I try to draw my area like this, okay, so you will see that it is not snapping accurately to the point here because it is snapping to my grids instead. So when this happens, your measurement is no longer accurate. Okay, so make sure that when you are working with measurements, you turn the correct snapping tools on and off. Okay, so this is snap to grid. So for now, we do not need this, and we do not need, what we do need is snap to content, which is the PDF itself. Okay, so now we have figured out what these snapping tools are. Let's go straight into doing measurements. Okay, when we are doing measurements, it is important that you know to calibrate at the start of your drawing. Okay, so when you calibrate your drawing, okay, you may have a scale on your drawing or a certain measurement that you can base on. So you can see over here, that is my calibrate button. Okay, when I calibrate, I select 2 points. Select the correct one. And I say OK. Okay, and if you have different scale in different pages, it is important to store your scale in a page as well. So when you select that, the scale is stored in this current page. If you are to go to the second page with a different scale, it will not be affected. So can everybody hear me? Okay, so once I store it here, and then once it's calibrated, you can see that it is also reflected over here. Okay, and if you have two different scale, you can actually select this one, this button here. Okay, and the precision, thanks Nikki. And the precision is over here. You could change it to the decimal place you like. Okay, and then we can start going. All right, so let's get started with some really basic measurements. Okay, so as you can see that we have got all these measurements up here. Okay, and they are very straightforward. So we have got area, we have got the poly length, etc. Okay, so basically I like to use my area tool because an area tool allows you to not just have the area measurement, but also many other measurements such as length, wall area, perimeter, all at once. So usually I prefer to use my area because it gives me all my measurement at once. Okay, so when I get started, I select my area, and you can see that if it's a normal, if it's just a square, a rectangle like that, you just hit it down and you drag and you drop, and there goes, you get your measurement like that very quickly. Okay, and this area measurement here, if you go to your properties palette, okay, you can see that you can show caption or not, and you can even show segment values, which means your parameter. Okay, and now, like I mentioned, apart from giving you an area measurement, it will also give you other measurements at the same time. So you can see that this is done by going to your properties palette, select show caption, edit, and over here you can start to add up what you want to be shown. So for example, you would like to know what is the wall area, you want to know what's the volume, okay, and everything starts coming out. Right, and if you are wondering now, what do you mean by wall area and how do I actually get that value? Basically, it is the height of the room that you can actually input it in by yourself. So this is a 2D drawing, you can't see the height, but that's okay. If you know the information, you can put it in Bluebeam Review and they will calculate it for you as well. So where do you put it in? So it is on your measurement toolbar here, which says depth. Okay, so from here, you can change it. What is the height of your room? Say 2.4 is perfect for me. Okay, and then, or if I'm actually changing it, for example, so if I select this room and I change it, you can see that my values are changing as well. So once I change any values, you will see that it is reflected straight away on my drawing. So that is very accurate for me. Okay. So now that is quite simple. You can see that this is how good an area measurement allow you to give you all this information. But also what we can do now is that if we have got very strange looking area, how do we work about it? Okay, so for a rectangle, it is easy. But what happens if we have got, say, a reception area where it is curved like that? Okay, so when it's curved like this, okay, there is this tool called the dynamic fill. Okay, so what a dynamic fill does is that if you have got very strange or curved area, a dynamic fill fills up the room for you by all you have to do is just create a boundary yourself. Okay, this tool is available in 2017 and above. Okay, and it has been a gem to so many people who has been using Bluebeam for years and having to click so many times to do an area, but now with dynamic fill, it solves everything. So dynamic fill is this one, this tool here. If I select it, you can see that I have this bar coming up, and I can choose to create a space, a polygon, an area, etc. So in this case, I just want to create an area as well, and I can add my boundary. Okay, so I'm going to find out what is the area of my reception. I can adjust my cursor like this. So I close up the room, close up the reception room, and I start to fill it up. And you can see it starts to fill up like that. Okay, and then you hit apply, and you get your area measurement very quickly like this. Okay, so this is dynamic fill for you. Okay, and if you need to cut out any area from the room, say you have got a steel beam in the room that you need to exclude out from the area, you have got a polygon cutout, you have a cutout tool here, so you can just cut it out if you like. So say I want to cut this this table out from my drawing. Say just this, for example. Okay, you can see that straight away the area will be adjusted accordingly as well. Okay, so now I would like to also show you this tool which is called the polylength. Okay, polylength, this polylength measurement is also very useful, especially when you are measuring pipe runs, duct runs, electrical runs. Okay, and I really like to use this one here. Okay, so I don't have any runs here, but let's say that I have got one and I would like to measure it. Okay, so what I would do is I have a duct run running from my corridor to my lobby, etc., all the way to my kitchen. So all I have to do is you could adjust properties later or now, that's up to you. So I'll just do it later, but you can see now I'm just going to run my duct run through the room like this. Okay, and straight away you can see that the sections are the values are given to you in sections as well as the total as well up here. Okay, and especially for pipe conduits or cables that are not displayed in 2D, we also have got this rise drop section now, which is available in 2017 version. So because you can't see in 2D, but if you have the value, you can put it in here, and you can have got your rise drop measurements as well. Okay, and same goes for slope. Okay, when we have got a roof plan and there is a slope to the roof plan, in a 2D drawing you can't see it, but if you have got a value, you can now put it in here and they can give you a very accurate measurement, area measurement of your roof. Okay, so all these features here has been added in since 2017. All right. So let's say now we have got this this duct run in the room. What I'm going to show you now is that I could actually save it in my tool chest and use it throughout my project. Okay, so now I have got this this duct run over here, and I would like to add it into my tool chest. So in this project, I need to measure my electrical run. I also have a pipe run that I need to measure as well. What the last thing you want to do is to have your drawing filled out with so many measurements of the same color, and you will be pretty confused as what is what. Okay, so what I'm going to show you is how do you organize your measurements. Okay, so this is my tool chest. Okay, and I already have got one duct run that I've created earlier on. So this duct run here allow me to create more measurements with this tool. But so you are wondering, how do I actually create this this tool in the first place? Okay, so I'll just show you very simply how this happens. Okay, so this tool over here, this markup here hasn't been saved yet. So what I'm going to do now is that I want to save it in my tool set here. Okay, so what I'm going to do is, all you have to do is do a right click and select add to tool chest and put it in your correct tool set. Okay, so from here now, it says that this is just a poly length measurement. All you have to do is just double click here, this subject, and change this to, so since I already got a duct run, I can say that this is my pipe run. Okay, and then now I want to use it. I want to use the measurement again for another run. But you can see that if I do click on it and I bring it over, it is the exact same form as what I drew earlier on. So what I do need to do is to change this into a properties mode so that I can use this measurement tool again. So all I have to do is do a right click and change to properties mode. And when that happens now, I can use my measurement tool again. Okay, and it can be, all you have to do is just right click and change to properties. So if you change it back to drawing mode, it will be what you see over here on my drawing. Okay. Okay, so now some of you will be asking, how is it that I'm able to open up the details like this of my tools? It's very simple. You just go to your gearbox over here, which is the properties of the tool set, and select detail, and this will be turned on like that. Same goes, say for this one here, I select detail. I can now understand what all my different tools actually mean to me. Okay, so now that's done. All I have to do now is, let's say if I need to create an electrical run, all I have to do is I will do a measurement again. Okay, so very quickly I come here, I do my poly length. Let me change this color to something else, say green. Change my text color to green. Okay, so this is my electrical run. Right click, add to tool chest, add to my duct part electrical runs. Double click at this section here and name it electrical. Okay. Okay, so now that's how easy it is to create new measurements like that, and you can use it again. So of course, the last thing is you need to right click it and change it into properties mode like this. Okay, so you can now reuse your measurement. All right, so now let's remove all this to make it clean, and I am going to show you how. Let's go back to the area measurement and have a look at what I'm going to show you now. So basically, when we are doing measurements, sometimes we are doing it because we need to do estimation. Say for example, I have a few rooms that I'm using carpet A, and there's a few rooms that I'm using carpet B, for example, and each carpets cost differently. You want to find out how much it costs to lay carpets in this room. Okay, so what I can do very easily is, so I'll just do very quickly now. Say, for example, these few rooms here, I say my meeting room, my office, and my storeroom are using carpet A, and it costs me, say, $100 per square meters. Okay, so I'm going to create an area very quickly. Okay, something like that. So just create one first. So these measurements here, okay, I am going to come up here and give it a label, says carpet A. Okay, and if you come down here, you can also choose the cost per square meter. So I will say it's $100 per square meters. Okay, and then what I'm going to do now is I'm going to save these measurements into my tool chest. So in this case, let me first create a new tool set. So I'll come here, add, and I add a new tool set, say my carpet measurements. I just save it. Oh, it's there already, so let me get out. Okay, so over here, now I just do a right click, add to tool chest, add to my carpet measurements. So here it is. Let me go to my details. So this is my area measurement, carpet A, but I'm going to change this into properties mode so I can reuse this again. So now for this one, this office room is also using my carpet as well as this area here. Okay, so as I'm doing this, if I pull out my markup list, you can now see that all these are coming up. So this is my carpet A. Okay, and then this is my cost per square meters, and this is my total cost. Okay, so if I have got another carpets that I'm laying in the room, all I have to do now very quickly is also to do some area measurements with different color, with a different label. Okay, so okay, I'll just draw it in first. Say carpet B. And this will cost me, say, 120, that's fine. Okay, same thing, right click, add to tool chest, carpet measurements, right click, and change to properties mode. Okay, so now this is an area measurement as well. Now I can also do it like that very quickly. So there you go. If you open up your markup list now, you can see the reason why I'm doing my labeling. You can see that this way I can actually sort out my markup list very nicely, very neatly, and get my total cost. Okay, so just ignore all this. It's just the decimal, the values inaccuracy, but that's okay. Basically, this is just what I want to show you, how you could actually distribute your measurements based on the different kind of materials that you're using, different costing, and you could create a markup list out from it. Okay, so basically for today, what I've showed you is you need to know how to work around with your snapping tools. Okay, and then under your measurements, there's all these tools here that you should make full use of. Okay, we work on area and work on dynamic fill. And the last thing that I want to show you is called the count. Okay, there's a count here. So let me go to another page. Okay, so this page here, what I'm going to do now is I would like to do a count of my doors, for example. Okay, so what I will do is I just go to search, and you can see that in Bluebeam, it allows you to do a visual search. So you can search your drawing based on an image, based on how it looks like. So you can select Get Rectangle. Say I want to do a count of how many single door there are in my drawing. Okay, and you can see there is a screenshot over here. Okay, so all I have to do now is you can see under the sensitivity, there's different options over here. Okay, so you can search for fine detail. For example, if you have got certain values on or code or numbers to the item. So if you have an A door inside, you will only search for all doors with an A in the door if you select this search for fine detail option. But if, in my case, I do not need it, so I just search for it now. Okay, so you can see that right here, it is just scanning through my drawing now and looking for the doors. Okay, so as we are waiting, I hope this session has been very useful for you guys, and we have learned something new out from it. Basically, what I need to show you is that you always need to calibrate your drawing, make sure that the scale is right before you do any measurement. Okay, and once you start doing measurements and you realize that your scale is wrong, do not worry. You can always recalibrate it and recalculate all your measurements again. Okay, and then the store scale to page is something that people actually neglect it quite often, and then they have to do the scaling again. But so what I would always recommend is to store it in the page so that you do not have to worry about it the next time you open it up. Okay, and then as we talk about the snapping tools, I would recommend that you always turn off your snap to grid, which is the one at the bottom here. Okay, so snap to content is what you need in order to do your most accurate measurements. Okay, and then when we come down to our tool chest, okay, when you are doing different kind of measurements, you are custom made some measurements. I recommend that you create your own tool set, your own tool chest, and then from here you can add your tool set, your various tools in very neatly, and to make sure that they are not too cluttered on your tool chest. And if you are the one creating all these measurements and you would like to share it with multiple people in your office, you can do that very easily as well, so that you can standardize your tool set across the company. Okay, so customizing tool chest and tool set could just be the next session, could be our future plans, and we will show you more on that in the future. Okay, so now I'm just waiting for this to run. Usually it is way faster, but I think because we are on a webinar, so I think that's why it's a bit slower. But basically, what it does is that after searching it, okay, it will give you a count of how many doors there are, and I think let me just cancel this in this session. I will just do a count manually, but if you do a visual search count, it does an automatic count for you, which is way faster. Okay, but in this case, it's a bit slow. I will do a count on my own. Okay, so this count tool is over here, count. Okay, and then all you have to do is just count the number of doors in your drawing like that. Okay, and then if you want to end it, you hit enter. Okay, and then the count will end. Okay, and if you open up, you can see that there is a number of count here at the bottom. It says 6. So what happens if you actually miss 1 or 2? All you have to do is just right click on any one of the counts on your drawing and select resume count, and you can continue doing the counts like that. Okay, then hit enter to end it, and you will see that the number would update itself as well over here. Okay, so this